Well, here we are at the end of the Cragheart Let's Paint series. This is video number 5 of 5. So now we've got him almost on the ropes. We're about to knock him out with some finishing details, and I'm so glad that you could join me. If you haven't watched video 1 through 4 yet, click up in the top, because this is not a short form tutorial like my normal videos. This is a much longer series in which I invite you to come and paint along with me. So, without further ado, let's get down to the table and we'll finish Cragheart. His knee pads, we have his shoulder, and we have deciding what I'm going to do on the chest. Well, I know what I'm going to do for the shoulder. We're going to use some Vallejo steel. This is a metallic. And this is going to be a 3-step process with the metallic. And actually, after I put this metallic on, I'm going to have to and I'm using a cheap old brush here. Always with metallics, use a cheap old brush. And this brush is actually a little bit too big. Yeah, so I'm going to take this off. So with metallics, you need to let them dry completely before you do any of the other steps. This is also a cheap brush, but it's not as old. You need to let them dry 100% before you do anything else with them, like wash over them or, try to highlight them or whatnot. You need to know 100% that they are dry and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is, while this part here is drying, I am going to research the how to paint a gemstone properly, and I will come back after this is all dried up. You won't know the difference. It'll be about 5 seconds for you. Alright, so we did the research, and the first thing we're going to start with is some Nolan Oil. Yep, not what you were thinking, but that's because we're going to do this part right here. So we're going to get some Nolan Oil, Citadel. I'm going to wash this because we really want to dull this down. Now we'll brighten it back up with some non-metal colors. But if this stays metallic and everything else on his body is, matte finish, it's going to look really, really out of place and really strange. So now that that's completely dry, we can do the wash. And now we're going to start working on his kneecaps. Now I practiced a little bit on this one just to see if I can get a color scheme that I like. And this one is not done, but we're going to make it look sort of like that. And the first thing we want to do is go back to our Prussian blue, and I mixed just a little tiny bit of black in it. It was just a little bit. It was just enough to add some depth to it. And you want to just paint that on. Now I've got, fortunately, dried out a little bit since painting the first part and now recording the rest of this. What you want to do is coat this whole thing in this Prussian blue black mixture. Make it really dark. And now the difference with gemstones from any other sort of object. So basically any sort of translucent object is that when the light shines through it, the shadow is actually going to be at the top rather than the bottom. And that is because the light, as it's coming through and it's touching the top of this stone, it is passing through and coming through the bottom, which makes the bottom light and the top dark, as the bottom is catching all of the light and reflecting it back, but the top is not. So you can see here I have the regular Prussian blue, the Prussian blue black mixture. Right here is a Prussian blue and, where's the bottle, and light turquoise mixture. All from Model Color. And right here is the pure turquoise, and then I added a little bit of white here, and I have that mixture there. And all we're going to do is then grab some of the regular Prussian blue, Now I didn't need much, that's why I just sort of put it out over here on the corner. And you're going to basically start from the bottom up and coat some of it, but not all of it. About 3/4, but going in the opposite direction of how you normally paint. Normally you would be painting it from the top down and trying to just catch the light at the top. But instead you're going to be catching the light at the bottom. So like I said here, you're just going to coat all this. Got a white there, so we'll get that. Just like so. You don't even need to let this dry too much. You just go right into the next color and do the exact same thing. Just make sure it's not too thick. Do the same thing. Pick out a little bit there. Kind of just catch the tip of the stone there. Then move right into the next one. And then we're going to get our last stone, or I should say, our last face of the stone in the pure more turquoise. Right here. And then what I did was I wet my brush and feather it out there a little bit. So it sort of blends it in. You can see that it's like a gradient that's going from dark at the top to light at the bottom. And then we have an extra little bit here to sort of catch just down at the very bottom here. Just like that. Now, we have to let that dry. You can blow on it all you want. Then what I did is I went over to my white, and I'm sort of out of white, and this is pure white, so not ivory. I'm using pure white. So you want something really, really bright. Taking that pure white, that down there, and took just a dab of the blue and put that in there. Now this has gotten really, really messy here, but that's okay. Hold on. There we go. Fan that out. So you don't want, you want the brightness, but you're not looking for like the actual white color. And then you see I came in and I drew lines the whole way around. So that's what I would do on this one. Now this needs to dry a little bit more, so I'm not going to do that yet. But once you do those lines and it's dry, you now have this side here. And then what you want to do is come back and do basically the exact same thing that you just did, but now you're going to do it inside the lines. For each section, trying to make these lines as thin as possible. This video I know is getting a little long in the tooth here, so that's why I'm trying to not show everything. You do it just like this, and then come back and get the next color in line. You take that next color and do the same thing. Do that. Grab these ones down here. And then you just keep doing this and cleaning it up until those white lines are very, very thin. And it looks like a gemstone. And I think that it's pretty good there, but I'll do a couple more passes over it. The more passes you get, the better the gradient's going to be. So that leaves us with two things. One thing I'm going to show you and one thing I'm not going to show you. And the thing I'm not going to show you is the base. I'm just going to paint the base gray once I'm all done. And I make sure that no other drops are going to land on there. And that's only because I'm painting them gray for my game. You can obviously do any kind of scenery you want, but I'm painting mine gray with a black rim. So this guy will be gray with a black rim. But I'm going to show you what to do up here. So, alright, my solution for this is going to be the simplest one possible because I'm not going to spend a ton of time on making this metal look super realistic on this little rock man. And I'm just taking my flat brush, making sure that I have some of this light gray in here. Light gray that I'm using is wolf gray from Game Color, but any light gray will do. And then I'm just going to dry brush. I'm going to dry brush this very lightly. The only thing that I want to do is catch the tip of the armor and all of these spikes. I don't want to get any gray, of course, on my nicely painted mini, but I also don't want to get any gray down into the armor itself. I want to just get it on the edges there. And so as you can see already, that just makes it sparkle deep in the recesses, makes it look like really tinged up metal. Now you can do a lot more to make this look super awesome, but that's kind of not the point of this. I think this is pretty freaking good. I don't know, what do you think? Especially when those two gemstones are all done. I think he's going to look really, really cool. Alright, so I have sort of discovered what I'm going to do in the center here, and it may work, it may not work. We're going to try. If it doesn't work, then cool, I'll never do it again. First thing I'm going to do is paint this right here, and I'm trying to thin this, but sometimes when you thin white, you end up with a big washy mess that does not paint well. It does not cover anything. I'm just sort of dabbing this in the center here. And I don't want to get it on any of my nice painted surfaces, but I want to get it into some of these cracks so that it actually looks like that. Okay. Put the white in there. I washed my brush off. Just going to make sure that there's not too much of it in here. So I'm going to dab out some of it in there. Alright, and now I'm going to take some of the azure that we have already over there. Plop that in there as well, right in the center. And I think that this makes it look very icy. So I think that's going to look like he has like an ice heart in there. Now it doesn't really do too much. Just a little dot of white in here as well. Just like that. And then I'm going to do the riskiest portion of this. Let me find it. I'm going to put some Vallejo water texture in there. Alright, and with Vallejo water texture, all you got to do is go to this big old tub. Just grab a little bit of it. Make sure that it is dry. The paint is dry. And then just sort of paint this on there. And kind of glob it on. I think the best way to do it might be to glob it on and then get rid of anywhere that it is that it's not supposed to be. And it's just regular acrylic, so you can work with it and touch it, but anywhere that it's not supposed to be, just get your brush wet. Come back in and scoop it up off of there. And so that little icy heart that he has will be protected in a little glaze of ice there. I think that's going to look real cool. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. So I think that's going to look really, really good once it's all dry. Alright, so tell me what you think about my Korg-looking Cragheart. Korg from the MCU with his icy heart there and his gemstones on his knees. If you like these types of videos, make sure you leave a like below and comment what you would like to see as my next one. See ya. New outro, I know. If you want to watch more in this series, click right here. If you would like to watch another video in a completely different series, click right here. And if you'd like an easy way to subscribe, other than clicking down below, even though it's right there and it says subscribe, you can click on this little picture right here. That also works.